with MP Rempel-Garner for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to pick up on some of the questions my colleague Mr. Longfield had brought up with regard to substitute goods. It sounded like you weren't supportive of finding substitute goods for some of these products, and I'm just wondering why you would push back on looking at, especially research into substitute goods for certain types of plastics.
I guess from our point of view, the real issue is that we live right now in a throwaway society where most of our goods are not durable, are not repairable. They're not designed for reuse. They're not designed for a long life.
Oh, okay, but
and so
just to be clear, though, I think what my colleague was asking about was looking at alternative goods for things that could be reused. Does your organization focus at all on do you have specific recommendations around what substitute goods would be acceptable?
What we're looking more at is substitute systems. So what we're looking at the moment is really.
So what I struggle with is that there's a huge policy gap here that I think Mr. Longfield was trying to get at. Is we have organizations like yourself come in and tell people, well, you can't have any plastics and we want to ban. And then as a public policy maker, I get letters into my constituency office about people having to get their French fries in their hands at a drive-through. So shouldn't we be looking at transitional products as opposed to just jumping into a ban doesn't that make sense to you?
Well, we have replacements for single-use plastics today. What we're hoping is that we don't end up in another single-use type of product. What we'd really like to end up with is a reuse system, so that when you get your fries at a takeout, you get your fries in a container that can be returned, washed out, and given out again. So that's why I say it's a systems level. I think what Mr. Longfield was talking about was more durable products, and we're not opposed to research on the kinds of things that will need to go into those durable products, but we need to make sure that those products are safe, that they're designed to be repaired, they're designed to be disassembled so that each component can be recycled afterwards.
Thank you. So the problem, though, is that getting to these, and I don't disagree, at some point, it's very laudable. We want to get to this circular system that you're talking about. The problem is we've now enacted bans without having those systems or the products in place. So people are getting their French fries in their hands, which is problematic. We're also banning potential transitional products like the Calgary Co-op compostable bag, for example. So don't you find it problematic that we're missing a step and that the public now sees this single-use plastic ban as highly problematic and that there's not a lot of public buy-in for it? Why isn't your group addressing the reality of public policies? Yes, we want to get to this transition, but we need those transitional products right now. McDonald's is not going to wash out a plastic French fry cup right now. They're just not. So how do we how do we get to that point?
Doing that.
At every McDonald's across Canada, somebody who is a single mom who's going through the drive-through and just needs some French fries for their kids is going to get a reusable French fry cup that's going to be washed out for her without any additional cost.
McDonald's could be doing that. They're doing it in France.
They could be doing it. Okay, now we're making products. So now we're making progress. But you do agree that transitional step is expensive to the public, right? So what should the committee be recommending to the government so that the single mom with the screaming kids in the back doesn't have to get the French fries in her hands?
Yeah, I've not heard of this problem. I think French fries are often given out in paper.
I think that's the gap here. I think that's the gap, is that when people have to pay $2 to Loblaws for a reusable bag that is essentially a tax on their groceries and has 1 million times more products or plastic than anything else, and then there's a mound of them under everybody's sink across the country, it's because groups like yourself have not recommended that transitional process. It's always just ban. Now, I'm not saying that we don't want to get to a point where we have more, everything that you've talked about, but we need to, wouldn't you recommend that as a committee we should be looking at that transitional step so that we can get buy-in again?
We have always recommended that the real alternative to single-use plastics is reuse systems that need to be scaled up, and the federal government and all the provincial governments have a role to play.
You've also advocated for bans without having that in place, so we've lost the public, and the public can't afford this right now. So how do we get back to sanity and start with, okay, if we want to get to ban, how do we do the transition first?
Okay, so that's our time.
Oh, sorry, I just want to say I don't believe we've lost the public on this. I believe the public still supports the action on plastic pollution and is finding other ways to deal with single-use plastics to replace them.
Thank you.